As someone who learns all day long, take my word for it. School district budgets are confusing. It's a web of complicated formulas and funding sources that become more complex as you learn more about it. But grasping some of the basics of how Higley Unified School District receives and spends money can go a long way in understanding how your tax dollars work to meet the needs of students like me in our community. Higley receives its funding from two main sources. 95% of Higley's dollars come from the state and local funding, while 5% comes from the federal government. Federal money is designated for such things as special education services and to support learning needs of students living in poverty using Title I funds. The thing is, the money can only be used for those programs. The district can't use the federal money for anything else. In fact, as you'll find out later on, pretty much every dollar the school district receives has strings attached. State money is broken out into two main areas: maintenance and operations, or M&O, and capital. 90% of the funding Higley receives is from M&O, while 10% is for capital. Maintenance and operations are your day-to-day expenses, your operating expenses. These include salaries for teachers and school staff, utilities like lights, air conditioning, transportation services, and general supplies. Capital expenses are durable items such as buildings, furniture, equipment, technology, textbooks, and buses. Remember those strings I talked about? Well, Arizona laws required the capital money only be used for capital purchases, and M&O money only be used for M&O. So we can't go buy one less bus to fund a teacher, and we can't cut a teacher's salary to buy a computer. Now, say the school district would like additional money to provide a better education for me and my friends. That goes above and beyond what the state and federal government provide. The governing board can go to their local community and ask for something called an override or a bond, which is a tax on property. Overrides and bonds are very different things and are not interchangeable. There is no such thing as an override bond or a bond override. Proceeds from the sale of bonds can only be used for capital purposes, like buses, school buildings, and technology. The last time Higley voters approved a bond was 2013. We used some of that money to help improve security at the schools. The district can call for either a capital override and/or an M&O override. The Higley School District asked voters to maintain current programs and classroom supplies, keep lower class sizes, and keep teacher salaries competitive in 2008 through an M&O override. The community said yes, and that money collected paid directly for those things. 5 years later, in 2013, the voters decided not to renew that override. Therefore, that money goes away, along with those things it funded. The district voters approved a capital override in 2006 to purchase musical instruments, athletic equipment, furniture, and buses, and to update and replace technology. That override has expired, and the district has not sought another one. These areas of money that Higley receives don't look the same from year to year. In fact, they can look very different depending on how many students enroll in Higley, whether or not voters approve an override, or whether or not the state or federal government decides to cut funding. Though the district has increased in enrollment, funding has not grown to match that growth over the last few years. In fact, we receive nearly $400 less per student than we did 5 years ago. That may not sound like much, but multiply it by 11,000 students over the course of those 5 years, and those dollars add up. Despite the shrinking of funds, Higley continues to live within its budget, and it's been recognized for high academic achievement. Higley was labeled an A district by the Arizona Department of Education each of the last 4 years. In 2014, all Higley schools received A ratings. In 2014 and in 2015, a Higley Elementary School received A+ recognition from the Arizona Educational Foundation. In 2015, both high schools were recognized by the Washington Post as America's most challenging high schools. Most importantly, students are graduating career or college ready. But the more money that gets taken away from the students, the harder it gets to maintain quality programs and services. So, do you understand the school district budget any better now? If you're like me, the answer is both yes and no, and that's okay. It's difficult. To find out more information and dig deeper into the complexities of school district funding, visit www.husd.org/budget or call us directly. We're here to help. It's your money, and we want you to understand how we use it to best meet the needs of all students.